A Block 2 ship section in the new test stand at Massi's, chopsticks and carriage arrive at Sanchez, new footings between Star Factory and the office at the build site, and tower modules getting stacked at the launch site. Hi everyone, Jeff A here, and welcome to RGV Aerial Photography's Starbase Flyover Update Episode 51. We'll be covering these and more updates at SpaceX's facilities at Starbase, Texas. Fasten your seatbelts and we hope you all enjoy the flight. We'll start here at the Massi's test site and later make our way east to the rest of Starbase. For reference, here's a mapped layout of the areas of interest at the Massi's test site. Shout out to Proky for creating these maps for each of the 4 sites. Beginning at the structural test stand, we can see that the new test article we met last week, known as Test Tank 16, has been placed in the stand. This test tank is being used to put the new and improved aft section design for the Block 2 ship through its paces. This test article sports the new E-dome design, which was simpler compared to previous versions. In the middle, we can see extra welds to prevent the top of the dome from failing like the E-dome test tank back in September 2022. Taking a look at the can crusher cap, we can see it's received a walkway around the perimeter. At the fabrication building, the extension has received its roof. Moving to the flame trench area, we can see the static fire stand has vanished, but more on that later. That's all for Massi's, on to Sanchez. Here's the labelled map to get your bearings. As Sanchez has become one of the most active sites in Starbase, let's move to the tower's staging area where all the soon-to-be stacked modules are being prepared for transport to the launch site. Module 4 is one of the most important modules as it has all the plumbing for the ship quick disconnect arm. It's already made its way to the launch pad, awaiting its lift as of the recording of this video. In the space where Module 3 once sat, we see more frame structures that we've seen recently at the launch site. More on that later, as we now know what their purpose is. During the week, both chopsticks arrived from the port of Brownsville, as seen in this video from Anthony at the rocket ranch, along with the carriage that holds them to the tower. The only major thing currently missing from Tower B is the ship quick disconnect arm, which we don't know if it is going to be transported from the Cape or assembled here. We'll keep an eye out on that. We have also yet to see the Drawworks winch. Thanks to Anthony Gomez from Rocket Ranch for capturing this video. Now let's roll to the transport stand and Star Factory workstation construction area. As it has been for the past few months, there isn't much news around the booster transport stands. We think that's because they're in the low priority list, paying much more attention to the workstations that are being built here. And speaking about that, the speculation around this new one is that it's a thrust puck to aft dome section construction jig for boosters, given its dimensions and shape. Nearby, another Star Factory part is underway. If we move to the east, we have the Sanchez inventory tent. Interestingly, on the outside of the tent, the inventory racks that hold many different parts for vehicles and infrastructure are getting cleared out. We don't know if they are moving them into the tent or if they are just obsolete parts. In this image, we can see that the final 2 elevated platform assemblies have arrived to complete the 3rd engine install lift in Mega Bay 2. Across from the inventory tent at the scrapyard area, the long steel beams seen in recent weeks near the container wall workstations are all together again, with further work continuing at this location. And with that, onto the build site. It's also been a busy week at the build site, with Starship Block 2 hardware appearances and stackings. Let's go through them one by one, starting at Mega Bay 2. Inside, Ship 31 remains atop the back left ship workstation with no visible changes since last week, as it's prepared for its static fire campaign ahead of Flight 6. On July 22nd, 3 Raptor engines were rolled in for installation on Ship 31, with the highest serial number being Raptor 391. Thanks to Lab Padre's rover cam for capturing these movements. A previous occupant of the bay, Test Tank 16, is no longer present after rolling out to Massi's on July 19th. Also worth noting is the new 4-point lifter for ships inside Mega Bay 2 is spotted being built outside the bay. Now moving to Mega Bay 1, there have been no visible changes to Booster 13, 14 and 15, with a methane tank section staged outside. Next to it we can see grid fins meant for Booster 13. On the evening of July 23rd, Lab Padre's Rover 1 caught Booster 15's aft section entering Mega Bay 1 for stacking. Notably, the difference with previous booster aft sections is that 6 additional tanks were mounted on the side of the header tank, which the booster uses for landing. It is possible that B-15 will feature additional fuel capacity to account for an increased dry mass due to the many upgrades applied to the booster. Over to the left in the high bay, we can see Ship 33's nose cone has been stacked onto its payload bay section. As seen on Lab Padre's Rover 1, a PES door from the payload bay followed on July 22nd. As a reminder, Block 2 of Starship features a rounded PES door. In this aerial image, we can see Ship 30 has its scaffolding removed by the time of our flyover on the afternoon of July 20th, meaning heat shield replacement and installation of the ablative layer was complete. Ship 30 was then moved to Megabay 2 and lifted onto the ship static fire stand before rolling out to Massi's for testing. As seen in this image courtesy of Starbase Surfer on X, the new heat shield has white material surrounding some of the tiles in the body of the ship. This additional material was previously reserved for the nose cone section of past ships. Finishing up our tour of the build site at the office building, additional footings have appeared here, as the mediation report regarding the dispute over the plot of land between the office building and Star Factory has been, quote, settled. This likely means we'll see Star Factory and the building connected in some way. More visible work on the office building can be seen in this angled shot, where we see the walls of some of the interior rooms have been raised and the rooftop has been poured with concrete. Drainage work at the end of San Martin Boulevard has been completed with backfilling and gravel to reduce erosion at the outflow. Let's move on to the launch site. Let's look at the final labelled map for this week. As we begin at Pad B construction, the tower is now 3 modules tall. A couple of notable observations of this latest module are the 2 arms sticking out of the left side from this angle that are supports for the Drawworks cable guide. Atop the module, we can see 2 cryopipes strapped to the module to eliminate for them needing to be lifted on their own. These appear to be the main LOX and CH4 supplies that, when connected to Module 4, traverse a different location to rise to the next level. Another new appendage to the tower is the installation of safety nets. Here we see one installed in the second module, with another lying on the ground ready to be installed. Mentioned earlier in Sanchez, we've seen 8 to 10 of these frames from multiple levels as the tower grows. Going back to the previous image, we can see formwork and rebar placed for some concrete work under the tower. These may become pads that plumbing and conduit runs may be placed on for support. We can also see that framing on the backside structures of the base have begun. This side of the structure will be where the spool of cable for the Drawworks winch will be placed. Seen here closer to the construction entrance, the spool was delivered this week. The CFA drill was still working to the west of the tower during the flyover before moving back to the orbital tank farm early in the week. New foundation work has commenced to the south of the tower. The Link Belt 248 HSL that recently arrived has gone to work hammering pipe and sheet piles in what appears to be early flame trench work. Here we see 4 pipe piles driven with some steel beams attached. On July 22nd, sheet pile installation would begin, likely creating a perimeter around this rectangle. Another notable addition to the foundation equipment is the Comachio MC28HD. This drill rig is capable of many tasks, however it appears to be supported by a grout plant that has been assembled along the pad perimeter. Deliveries of bentonite used in directional boring suggest the rig could be used to install tiebacks in the flame trench walls. Moving on, we see the mystery square has been further excavated, with the shoring seen nearby the last couple of weeks assembled inside the hole to keep the walls from collapsing. It is still unclear what this will be used for. Let us know in the comments what you think might go in the hole. As we make our way to the new entrance work, we see the middle of the site continues to be cleared. Some concrete has been removed roadside at the new entrance, with rebar seen here in preparations for the drive to be poured. Moving toward the orbital tank farm, we can see evidence of some piles that were drilled near the D2 entrance. It's unclear what will go here, but the stacks of rebar above, as well as the rebar cage building stands, have been moved here, and the BG45 was moved back to this area once again on July 22nd. Nearby, another vaporizer has arrived. It seems logical that with suspected tank farm expansions, that additional hardware could be needed with additional tanks. Further down the tank farm, at the methane pump area, we see that a new pump has been delivered. Seen here wrapped in blue plastic, just to the right we can see the pump motor. Looking to the pump area, we can see the second pump will be the one removed. July 22nd would see the replacement of this pump. Before leaving the tank farm, the 2 vertical tanks known as Tankenstein and Blue have seen some activity, with the wells of their lifting tabs being inspected like the vertical propellant tanks. It seems these tanks' days may be numbered. The only question is if they will be relocated or replaced with different tanks that aren't so close to the exhaust plume. At Pad A, preparations for Flight 5 have commenced following the successful static fire of Booster 12. The scaffolding on the OLM ring has returned, as well as the scaffold on the dance floor for work on the Raptor quick disconnects. The SpaceX LR11000 has now been moved to assist on Pad A improvements. Initially work on the ship quick disconnect was suspected, however attention recently has been on the chopstick's catch rail systems. Hardware replacement of catch rail linkage, lifting actuator and shock dampeners have all been seen by ground-based cameras earlier in the week. Just off the tips of the chopsticks, we can see two pieces that appear to be rail linkages. Just below, there is a crate with a possible rail lift actuator as well as this yellow object, which is a cantilever lifting beam that has been used for piston replacements on the chopsticks. And that's it for episode 51 of Starbase Flyover Update. Thanks for choosing to fly with RGV aerial photography, and I hope you all enjoyed the flight. If you liked what you saw today, please subscribe for more episodes and content so you don't miss out on the new videos each week, and leave a thumbs up. To receive the latest images and to join in the conversations on the day they are taken, please consider joining RGV's Patreon. I'm Jeff A, and I'll see you next time from 10,500 feet.